Hello everyone. Today I will be explaining us in a simple way how the Israel-Palestine conflict started and what is the situation currently going on. So it all starts after World War I when the Ottoman Empire just collapsed after being on the side of the Central Powers. Note, if you ever in a world war, do not side with Germany. Anyways, after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, the part which we would nowadays call Israel and Palestine was ruled by the British and was known as the British Mandate of Palestine. It had a small Jewish minority and was mostly populated by Muslim Arabs and Christians. At that time, intellectuals began bringing the idea of nationalism from Europe and America. The idea of nationalism began to propagate that every group of people should have their own nation state. So the Palestinians began getting the idea, but in very slow. Whereas in Europe, a large amount of Jews began getting the idea of nationalism and that all the Jews should have one state of their own. That idea began to propagate, and since the Britishers wanted to balance out the Arabs in Palestine, they began offering easy visas for anyone who wished to immigrate. So the Jews took their opportunity and began mass immigrations towards Palestine. So after some time, they began to have tensions between the Jewish population and the already existent Arab population, the Palestinians. British Mandate of Palestine began to be populated by a large amount of Jewish settlers who were enticed by the offer of easy visas and the chance to create a holy land where all Jews could come and live in peace. Soon, they began to have tensions between the newly arrived Jewish population and the already existent Palestinian populations. Tensions began to flare, and then the Britishers decided to put a cap on all Jewish immigrants to the Holy Land. Then the Holocaust occurred, and then so on and so forth. Very many Jewish people escaped from Europe, and since there was already a very large population from the previous immigrations, most of the Jews fled into Palestine. Soon the Jewish population began to slightly outnumber the Arabs there. So in 1948, the UN decided on a peace deal to keep the peace. There would be two sides. There would be the Jewish sector and the Palestinian sector. The Jews immediately accepted the plan, whereas the Palestinians, who had the support from the Arab states, did not. This began the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, which the Israelis won. That's the reason they're still here. So, and the only two parts of Palestine that were left were the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. The West Bank was controlled by Jordan, and the Gaza Strip was controlled by Egypt, and so on and so forth. This cycle of wars continued. Slowly, the West Bank and the Gaza Strip were occupied by Israel in the 6-day war, and after that, including the Golan Heights as well, if you want to be picky. And then after that, that's when the Israeli occupation of the Gaza Strip begins. So from this point forwards, Israel occupies the Gaza Strip until 2005. There are two parts of the Palestinian Authority. On the main one, which many consider this the main one in the West Bank is considered the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization. In the Gaza Strip, there is the Wafam or radical Hamas. The PLO believes that peace with Israel is possible, whereas Hamas believes that Israel should be integrated into an Arab-ruled Palestine. The main problem in Palestine nowadays is the Jewish settlers. The settlers come here for political reasons, religious reasons, or for cheaper housing. The UN says these settlers are illegal, but they continue to arrive since they are protected by Israeli military, and they're given subsidies to quickly go there. These are causing tensions within the Palestinian community as Palestinians are being slowly forced off their land in greater and greater numbers. So the main Israeli-Palestine war does not actually consist of all of Palestine. The main part of the Israeli-Palestine war consists of the Gaza Strip, which is Hamas, versus Israel. So where are we now? We now know that Hamas controls the West Bank and Israeli settlers are attempting to move in greater number. This has caused massive amounts of friction as the settlers are escorted by military police and military itself. As you can see, it has caused lots of friction. As how do you like it if all of a sudden some random person gets up from their seat and says, hey you, get off your land. We have people coming here to live here, even though you own this land and you have lived here for ages. But Palestinians, they want to return to their normal lives, but the settlers are causing massive amounts of friction. The settlers are illegal according to the UN, but Israel doesn't care. Anyways, this is the main problem of the West Bank. Israel has imposed a blockade for a really long time. This blockade has caused massive problems for the Palestinian population in the West Bank. This blockade has caused 40% unemployment rates and increasing anger towards Israelis. The Hamas has been using this anger, has been bottling up this anger towards the Israelis, and now it looks like that anger the genie has finally come out of the bottle for the Israelis. The anger of the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip has finally reached that point where they are no longer able to tolerate. Unemployment in the Gaza Strip is around 40%. Many of them live in refugee camps. And technically the blockade is illegal, but Israel continues with it anyways. Most of the food comes imported by smugglers from Egypt. So, as I said, the genie has come out of the bottle. Hamas now has the support of much of the West Bank population, and finally, Hamas has had enough and they decided to act on the will of the people. They have launched attacks into Israel. So we were here. Very angry Palestinian people are currently in the Gaza Strip. Israel is doing nothing to quell the situation. As said before, Palestinian people are growing angrier and angrier by day due to settlers, Israeli blockades, and many other factors. So now looks like Hamas has finally decided to let the genie out of the bottle and launch attacks into Israel. Now these attacks have mostly been denied by the Iron Dome system, these redundants, but these are meant to send a message to the Israelis. We will not tolerate any further foolhardy responses to you. We will no longer tolerate any of this blockade or anything. We wish to be treated as people, and we shall be treated as such. And the conflict is mostly limited to the Gaza Strip and Israel. So calling this the Israeli-Palestine war is mostly an error. It should be called the Hamas-Israel war, or not even war, conflict. Because a war is between a nation state and another nation state. Hamas is an organization. Hamas, even though itself claims to be controlled, it claims to be Palestine. Currently, it does not claim to be Palestine, so it is an organization, so it should be a conflict. Thank you very much.